Welcome to Cost Saver Conversations. I'm Angela, and I ask the practical questions so you can quickly understand what matters. Today, I'm joined by Assad.
Hi, Angela. We are unpacking how to use the UK Pension Carry Forward Calculator to maximize your retirement contributions in 2026 today, and tying it back to the wider cost saver ecosystem, including tools like UK Pension Carry Forward Calculator and Carry Forward Calculator, so you can turn insights into action quickly.
Just a heads up before we dive in, we are your synthetic hosts. We are great with numbers, but as AI, we can sometimes be confidently wrong. Think of us as the digital versions of your most knowledgeable, slightly caffeinated friends.
Exactly. Treat this chat as a smart estimate only, not as professional financial guidance. Always check important details with official sources or a qualified expert before making any big decisions.
Hey, welcome back, everyone. Today, we are getting into something that, okay, I'll be honest, when I first saw the topic, I thought, pensions, carry forward, this is going to be dry. But then I started reading, and the numbers involved are actually kind of shocking. Assad's here to walk us through it. Hey, Assad.
Hey, Angela. Yeah, I get that reaction a lot. People hear pension carry forward and their eyes glaze over. But honestly, it's one of those things where if it applies to you, it can be worth tens of thousands of pounds, like real money.
Real money. Okay, so sell it to me. What actually is pension carry forward? Because I think most people, myself included until recently, just assume there's a limit on what you can put into your pension each year, and that's it.
Right. So that's the annual allowance, currently 60,000 pounds. And most people do think it's a hard ceiling, use it or lose it. But the carry forward rule says if you were a member of a UK registered pension scheme in any of the previous 3 tax years, you can take whatever allowance you didn't use and sort of stack it on top of this year's.
Wait, stack it? So you're saying I could potentially contribute way more than 60,000 pounds in a single year?
Way more. I mean, if we're talking 2026-27, you could potentially use unused allowance from 2023-24, 2024-25, 2025-26, plus the current year. We're talking potentially well over $200,000 of tax-relieved pension space in one go.
Over 200. Sorry, that just seems like a lot.
It is a lot, and here's the thing that makes it really tangible. A 45% additional rate taxpayer who manages to contribute an extra $100,000 through carry forward could reclaim around $45,000 in tax relief. 45,000 pounds that would otherwise just go to HMRC.
Oh, wow. Okay, so that's not abstract at all. That's genuinely life-changing money for some people.
It really is, especially if you've had a windfall year, big bonus, sold something, business had a great year, and you've been underpaying into your pension. This is how you catch up. Does that make sense so far?
Yeah, totally. But I'm guessing there's a catch, right? There's always a catch.
There's always a catch. The catch is the maths is genuinely fiddly. The allowance is varied, the taper rules changed, your personal earnings cap, everything. And you have to get the order right, which is exactly why a carry-forward calculator is so useful. It does the layered math that HMRC expects you to do by hand.
Okay, so let's get into the actual numbers. What are we working with for 2026-27?
So the annual allowance for 2023-24 was 60,000 pounds, and that was actually raised from 40,000 mid-2023, which people forget. And it stayed at 60,000 for 2024-25, 2025-26, and the current year. So in theory, 4 years times 60,000, that's $240,000.
$240,000? That's the theoretical max?
Theoretical, yeah. In practice, almost nobody is in that exact position. You've almost certainly contributed something, and then there are rules that can shrink your allowance. The tapered annual allowance for very high earners, the money purchase annual allowance if you've already dipped into a pension.
The MPA? I've heard that one trips people up.
Oh, it's brutal. So if you've taken any taxable income from a defined contribution pension, Flexi Access Drawdown, uncrystallized funds pension lump sums, the MPA kicks in at just $10,000. And you can't use carry forward against money purchase contributions after that. It caught a lot of people who took a small drawdown during the pandemic, thinking it was no big deal, and it's cost them tens of thousands in lost allowance.
Oh no, yeah, that's painful.
Really painful, and often irreversible, which is the worst part.
Okay, so the calculator. Walk me through how it actually works. Like, what's it doing under the hood?
Sure. So first, it establishes your annual allowance for the current year, 2026-27, applying any taper if your income's high enough. Then it subtracts whatever you've already contributed or expect to contribute this year. If there's still room, or if you've exceeded it, it looks back. And this is the key bit. It starts with 2023-24, the oldest year still in scope.
Why oldest first? Can't you just pick whichever year?
No, and this is important. It's strictly chronological, oldest first, because unused allowance from the oldest year falls off the cliff first. Come April 2027, anything unused from 2023-24 is gone forever. You can't reorder them to save the juicy ones for later.
Right, so there's actual urgency here for 2023 specifically.
Exactly. That's the one with a deadline breathing down your neck right now.
Okay, so before someone sits down with the calculator, what do they actually need to gather? I'm imagining a pile of paperwork.
Yeah, it's a bit of a treasure hunt. You need your total gross pension contributions, yours and your employer's, for each of the last 3 tax years. If you're in a defined benefit scheme, you need the pension input amounts, which your scheme administrator can give you. Your adjusted income and threshold income figures for any year you might have been tapered. Expected earnings for 2026-27, and whether you've triggered the MPAA.
That's quite a list.
It is. If you're a salaried employee with one workplace pension, honestly, your annual benefit statement covers most of it. But if you're self-employed or a company director, you're probably digging through accountant records, SIP statements. I'd budget about an hour, maybe more if you've changed jobs or providers a few times.
Fair enough. Okay, let's make this real. You've got some worked examples. Let's start with Aisha.
Yeah, so Aisha, she's 45, solicitor in Leeds, earns £90,000. Her employer puts in $6,000 a year, she matches that, so $12,000 total going into her pension each year. Then she gets a $100,000 bonus and wants to shelter as much of it as possible.
Go on.
So her unused allowance. Each of the last 3 years, it's £60,000 minus $12,000 contributed, so £48,000 unused per year. And for 2026-27, she's already got $12,000 going in, leaving another $48,000. Total available carry forward plus current year, £192,000.
That's a lot of headroom.
It is. But, and this is where people get tripped up, her relevant earnings for the year are $190,000. That's the $90,000 salary plus the $100,000 bonus. Personal contributions are capped at 100% of your relevant UK earnings in the tax year you make them. So even though she has $192,000 of space, she can't personally put in more than she's earned.
I hadn't thought about it like that. So what did she actually do?
She put in $100,000 personally from the bonus. And with the tax relief she reclaimed, roughly $42,000 in higher and additional rate relief, she effectively turned that $100,000 bonus into about $142,000 of retirement savings.
That's really compelling, actually.
Right? And the key insight there is the employer contributions don't have that earnings cap, which is why owner-managed company directors often use company contributions to mop up carry forward instead of personal ones. It's a really important distinction.
Okay, what about someone who's caught by the taper? You mentioned Marcus?
Yeah, Marcus, investment banker, earns $280,000. His adjusted income is above $260,000, so his annual allowance gets tapered. For every £2 above $260,000, the allowance drops by 1 down to a minimum of £10,000. So his 2026-27 allowance is reduced to £50,000.
And I'm guessing the prior years need checking against the taper too?
Exactly. Each year has to be assessed against the taper rules that were in force at the time. Honestly, it's genuinely painful to do by hand. That's where the calculator really sort of proves its worth. It handles all those layered adjustments.
And then Rachel, the self-employed one with the lumpy income?
Yeah, Rachel's interesting. She's 52, freelance consultant. Income has bounced around. $45,000, $30,000, $85,000, $120,000 across the last 4 years. She's only ever put $3,600 a year into a SIP, so she's got roughly 56,400 pounds of unused allowance per year, totaling around $225,000 of headroom.
But her earnings cap her again?
Exactly. Her relevant earnings for 2026-27 are $120,000, so that's her personal contribution ceiling. She could put in $120,000 this year, which would use a big chunk of carry forward and, dramatically improve her retirement position. But she can't access all $225,000 in one go personally.
That's actually reassuring in a way. Like, even if you haven't been doing this perfectly, there's still a meaningful catch-up available.
Absolutely. And for self-employed people with irregular income, I'd actually say plan carry forward over a multi-year horizon. Don't just react in one big push. Spreading contributions across your high-income years keeps you within earnings caps and smooths out the tax relief. Have I explained that clearly?
Yeah, that makes total sense. Okay, let's talk traps. Even with the calculator, what catches people out?
So the big one, the I wasn't in a scheme trap. You can only carry forward from a tax year if you were a member of a registered UK pension scheme during that year. The scheme doesn't have to receive contributions. It just has to have existed in your name. So if you had a 5-year career break with no scheme membership at all,
Those years are just gone.
gone. Yeah, which is why it's actually worth keeping even a dormant pension account open if you can. Then there's the defined benefit pension input amount trap. If you're in a final salary or career average scheme, your pension input amount isn't what you paid in. It's 16 times the increase in your annual pension plus any lump sum increase with an inflation adjustment. A promotion or pay rise can produce a surprisingly large input amount that eats into your allowance without you realizing.
Oh, I didn't realize that. So you could think you've got loads of headroom and actually you don't.
Exactly. And then the taper retrospective trap. This one's really sneaky. Your adjusted income for tapering purposes includes employer pension contributions. So if you make a huge employer contribution to mop up carry forward, it can push you into the taper, which reduces the very allowance you're trying to use. It sort of eats itself.
That's like a snake eating its own tail.
Pretty much. The calculator should flag it, but honestly, if you're anywhere near the taper thresholds, get an advisor to double check.
Good advice. Now, one thing I wanted to ask, people sometimes confuse the annual allowance with the old lifetime allowance. What's the deal there?
Yeah, important distinction. The lifetime allowance was abolished from April 2024. It's been replaced with the lump sum allowance at £268,275 and the lump sum and death benefit allowance at $1,073,100. Carry forward is purely about annual contributions, but if you've got a very large pot, there are still limits on tax-free withdrawals. Different thing entirely, though.
Right, okay. So strategically, when does carry forward genuinely change someone's financial plan? Like, when should people really be paying attention to this?
So the big ones, selling a business, a capital event combined with a final year of trading income, you can partially shelter that through a company pension contribution. Receiving a large bonus, particularly when it pushes you into that 60% effective marginal rate between $100,000 and $125,140.
Oh, God, the 60% trap.
Yeah, it's brutal. But a pension contribution that brings your adjusted net income below $100,000 reinstates your personal allowance. So you're getting effectively 60% relief on that band. It's incredibly efficient. What else? Returning to high earnings after a low income period, like maternity leave or a sabbatical. Those years often leave allowance unused. Owner-managed company profits, and honestly, just approaching retirement. A final sprint of maximum contributions over your last few working years can meaningfully change your retirement income.
What about inheritances? Someone inherits a chunk of money, can they use that?
Interesting one. So the inheritance itself isn't relevant earnings. You can't use inherited money as the basis for tax relief, but it frees up your other income to be contributed. So indirectly, yes, it can help you fund a carry-forward contribution.
Ah, clever. Okay, practical stuff now. If someone's listening and thinking, this might apply to me, what should they actually do? Like step by step for 2026-27.
Right, so 5 steps. First, pull your statements. Get contribution histories from every pension you've been in since 6 April 2023. Second, run the calculator. Enter your real figures and note the headroom available in each year. Third, check your earnings for 2026-27 and decide whether personal or employer contributions make more sense for your situation.
And fourth?
Model the tax relief. Work out your marginal rate. Pay particular attention to that 100,000 to 125,140 band. Check for taper effects. And fifth, and I cannot stress this enough, make the contribution well before the tax year ends. Do not leave it until late March. Banking delays can push the payment date into the wrong tax year, and then you've missed it.
Fair enough. I can imagine the panic of a late March bank transfer not clearing in time.
I've seen it happen. It's not pretty.
And if the numbers are big, like 6 figures, professional advice?
Absolutely. A regulated financial advisor will charge you, but on a contribution worth 6 figures, the fee is trivial against the risk of getting it wrong. I mean, we're talking about potential tax charges, lost allowance. It's just not worth the gamble.
One more thing. Do you need to tell HMRC in advance? Like fill in a form or something?
No, and this is a really common misconception. Carry forward isn't something you claim from HMRC. You don't fill in a form to activate it. It happens automatically when your contribution exceeds the standard annual allowance, provided you have the unused headroom. You will need to declare it on your self-assessment return for the year, but there's no advance notification.
Oh, that's actually reassuring. And you can't reverse it once it's done, right?
No, you cannot reverse a pension contribution once it's been paid in, which is why it pays to model it carefully before transferring the money. But for most people considering serious carry forward, retirement is on the horizon anyway, and the lock-in is sort of a feature rather than a bug.
When can you access it again? Remind me.
Currently age 55 for defined contribution pensions, rising to 57 from April 2nd, 2028.
Okay, Assad, let's wrap up with the key takeaways. What should people remember from all of this?
All right, so the headline is, if you haven't been maxing out your annual allowance every year, you probably have unused headroom from the last 3 tax years that you can use now. The 2023-24 allowance vanishes on 5th April 2027, so that's your deadline for the oldest year. Your personal contributions are capped at your earnings, but employer contributions aren't, important for directors especially. The MPA at £10,000 can block carry forward if you've already accessed a pension flexibly. And honestly, just spend 20 minutes with the calculator and your old statements, you'll know exactly where you stand.
I love that. 20 minutes that could be worth thousands. Assad, this has been brilliant. Thank you.
Thanks, Angela. And look, if anyone's numbers are complicated, taper, defined benefit, multiple schemes, just get advice. But for most people, the calculator and an hour of prep will give you the answer. Don't let the 2023-24 allowance expire without at least checking.
Perfect. That's it for today, everyone. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time. Quick side note, this guide connects with other cost-saver blogs, especially tax optimizers versus traditional calculators, ME's, Energy Performance Certificate C, and Landlord Costs and Council Tax Bands Guide.
Exactly, and reading those together helps you connect the dots across your household budget, not just this one topic in isolation.
And if you want to apply this immediately, jump into tools like UK Pension Carry Forward Calculator and Carry Forward Calculator right after this episode.
Primary sources used here include HMRC Pensions Tax Manual and Money Saving Expert Pension Allowance Guide, so you can verify the data yourself and stay evidence-led.
That wraps this cost-saver conversation with Angela and Assad. If this helped, share it with someone who could put these ideas to work this week.
Your next step is simple. Try UK Pension Carry Forward Calculator, then read Tax Optimizers versus traditional calculators, and use them together to take action today.